Hello, my name is Debbie, Owlandgatorstitcher. Welcome to Flosstube number 24. Today is Monday, December 13th, 2021. This is a video mainly about cross stitch. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back and watching me for every video. And if you're a new viewer, thank you for giving me the time and taking a few moments to watch. I hope that you like what you see and you'll click on the subscribe button. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than most of mine. I am going to do the year 2021 in review, so it's going to be a finish and WIP parade. But before I jump into that, I just want to say a big thank you to Kat. I went to a cross-stitch retreat in Ohio in early December, and she organized it, and it was a lot of fun. It was a small group, but it was just a great chance to get together with fellow stitchers and talk about what we're working on and get new ideas and maybe a little shopping for fabric, and it was just a lot of fun. So thank you so much, Kat, for organizing that, and I hope to be able to go again next year. So with that, I want to just jump straight in and give you some statistics. So as I've mentioned before, I participated in No New Starts 2021. That meant that I committed, if I wanted to stay in the game, that I would not have any new starts with the exception of one freebie, which they allotted to everyone. So I successfully completed that challenge. It actually finished yesterday. And so today we can start all the things. And because I will be participating in the group next year, although the rules are slightly different, I'm going to try and get a few starts that I've been waiting for under my belt. But I started this year with 41 projects. And I started one more, so a total of 42 projects that I worked on during 2021. And of those, I had 6 finishes. I touched everything else. So I have right now 36 active projects. Again, that will only last until about an hour after this video is uploaded, because then I'm going to go ahead and do a bunch of new starts. But I thought I would go ahead and show you what I've done in 2021. I'm also going to do everything in reverse order, simply because, obviously my older projects have more progress, and so it's more fun to see those towards the end. I also want to just apologize once and up front. I have everything left in their bags, and I'll be pulling them out while I do some nice project bags. Most of mine are just in the 2-gallon Ziploc bags, so there might be some crinkling going on. So if you're wearing headphones, please be sensitive to that. And I hope that doesn't bother you too much. With that, I'm going to go ahead and show you my finishes. So my last finish I had is this. Let's see if I can get it all the way back here. So this was Patriotic Patchwork, and it was from an issue of I think it was just cross stitch, but it's from I think 2007. So just really simple. I think there were 6 or 7 colors in it, and just says the word America. And this was done on a 16 count off-white Aida that I had in my stash, so I don't know the brand. So that is my first finish, or my last finish actually. The next finish, and I'm definitely going to need something to hold this up on because it's a very transparent fabric. This is Cozy Cardinals. This is from Just Cross Stitch 2020. I can't remember if it's their December or their Christmas issue, but just 2 pretty cardinals there in the snow. And this was done on a 28 count linen 2/2. And the colorway is Sky. I got this in a giveaway, so I don't actually know who the dyer is. But that is Cozy Cardinals. Okay, my next finish. This is We Are the Same from Heartstring Samplery, Beth Twist. This was a free pattern that she designed for like when we started the hashtags for the diversity and inclusion sale. I should say we, a number of people who I participated in that. I did not actually set up the hashtags, but this was one of the patterns that came out in the summer of 2020. So this is We Are the Same, and it is on a 28 count linen in the colorway Dapple, and I don't know who the dyer is. When I purchased the fabric, the label that was on it just had the color. It did not have the name of the dyer, but it is an over-dyed fabric. The next one I have, this is, oops, let's see if I can get this a little bit better. This is Apple Sampler. Get my hand away from the tree. This is from an old issue of Cross Stitch and Country Craft, and I did do quite a bit of personalization on this. There was a whole nother row in here of apples with names, and I just decided it was not a good look for this piece, so I took it out. So that is, this is the remaining, but I had a lot of fun doing this, and this was my first piece that I started for the Magazine Monthly Challenge. So I started this, I think, probably in September 2020. This was a lot of fun. I was very happy to get a finish on this. And next piece I'm going to show, this is Wise Old Owl, and this is a Just Nan pattern, and it's a 25 count linen, so I did it 2/2, and the color is tea. It was a very old piece I had in my stash, so I have no idea who the dyer is, and the color was tea. It is not something that I tea dyed. That's what we have. That's Wise Old Owl. And my last finish, which was actually a start and finish, this was the Sense and Sensibility Mystery Stitch Along by Sapphire Mountain Handcrafts. And I knew going in this was the piece that I was going to cheat on because I love Jane Austen, I love Sense and Sensibility, so it was a lot of fun to work on this. This is a 28 count even weave. This was Sapphire Mountain Handcrafts on the Stitching Book Club. She did do a limited number of kits, and I was lucky enough to be able to snag one of those, that's what this is. And she said for this piece, she thought it was more indicative of Jane Austen, Jane Austen, not necessarily reflective of the novel itself, but lovely piece. So thank you very much, Kristen. I hope that you are feeling better. She actually lived in Florida, but she had to move to Las Vegas because she was having, she needed to live in a drier climate. And I've really loved all the pieces that she has put out, and I hope that she'll be back to designing soon. I know she put out The Great Gatsby, but I'm really looking forward to when Narnia comes out, because that's going to be a limited edition, and that will be really fun to stitch when it comes out. So that is all I have for my finishes, the 6 pieces. This is my planner for 2022, and all of these projects, I've already written them down on the birth date, so I'm going to be referencing this. You'll see that I have sort of a trend of my starts. As I mentioned in previous videos, I was a monogamous stitcher for many, many years, for over 30 years. I worked on one project and finished it and then moved on to the next one. All right, folks, this is Maya. She decided she wanted to bump my tablet where I'm filming, so I thought I'd get a good picture of her. Put her down now. She is now going to guard duty and making sure the squirrels don't invade the yard by the window. But anyhow, back to monogamous stitching. So I did that up until I found Flosstube in 2019 and realized there was this whole other world of stitching out there. So I finished the very large project I was working on in 2019, and towards the very end, I did do one more piece with that. It was actually the Pride and Prejudice stitch along with the Stitching Book Club, and I finished those about the same time. And then it was just like, woo! All rules are off, and I am going to do start a lot of projects. So again, sorry for the pause. I said I'm just going to start as many projects as I want. I'm not going to limit myself. It means I won't have finishes as frequently as I used to. But it also means that, that I can stitch on a lot of different things that I love, and they don't just sit in a closet until I finally finish another project. And so you'll see sort of that they come in clumps. I also retired in September 2020. And so there was also times where just the process of leaving my employer, who I had been with for quite a long time, making international move back to the United States. There was a lot going on, so I didn't have any starts during that time period. But with that, I am going to go ahead and show you my active projects. And again, going from the most recent to the oldest. Excuse me. Probably much more of a close-up than you wanted. But so from December 18th, this was my last start, and I did a lot of new starts in December in order to do the magazine. in order to do the no new starts. And so I have a bunch of new starts from December. So this is Pandemic Sampler by Sarcy Girl. I think many of you are familiar with this. I did this on a 32 count even weave called Panther Cap from Fortnite Fabrics. Have not made a huge amount of progress. Here's where I am. So basically I have done part of one of the side borders. As I've mentioned in my previous videos, I was cutting, my upper and lower margins are cutting it quite close. So I sort of put this down for a while because I couldn't remember, you know, I knew that I was cutting them close, but I couldn't remember where I started. And then I realized that it didn't matter as long as I could go up and down because it's a perfectly repeating pattern. This is not one of these tricky reproduction samplers where the young girls made mistakes. So I just made a decision, just go for it. And I've seen a lot of people who have modified it and it looks beautiful however they've done it. And I think this is a wonderful pattern. And Sarcy Girl made it free to everyone as long as you made a donation to either an animal charity or a charity that, you know, against violence of some sort. So that is Pandemic Sampler. Then on December 14th, 2020, I started my first project with silk, which is right now my only project with silk, and that is Jane Bannister. Jane Bannister from Hands Across the Sea. And this is a 32 count linen. I am doing 1 strand of silk over 2. And the color is a lakeside linen and the color is maritime white. So here's where I am. I should try and get all these things straight. So here's where I am. Again, it's a project, I really, really like it. It's just something that I put it down and then I sort of, because I do so much full coverage, it's not something that calls to me on a regular basis, so it doesn't get picked up as often as I would like to. But I really am loving working on this. The border is one of these that, because it's not, there's so much detail in the border, it's just a lot of fun. And by the time you finish one area of motifs, even if it starts to repeat, it's like you're stitching it from the beginning. So it's a lot of fun. Sorry, Maya needed to be freed, so hopefully we won't have any more distractions. So the next piece I started on December 13th. This is from Forest Embroidery, and it's Swan Lake. So lovely colors. I got it as a kit, and so it's a 32 count linen gray fabric, and I'm using the kit flosses, which are beautiful variegated flosses. Here's where I am. So I started in the middle because it was kit fabric. I wanted to make sure that I started it in the correct place. So this is really beautiful, and I really enjoy working on it. So Swan Lake by Forest Embroidery. Okay, so the next piece I have is one I think that many of you are familiar with. It is His Eyes on the Sparrow. This is one, I absolutely love it, but I have not put a lot in it. I wanted it available in my rotation so I could stitch it. I'm having problems finding the cover photo, wherever it might be. There it is. Nope, that is not it. There we go. So here is the cover photo. Again, I think many of you are familiar with this. This is a half-size page. But I think as many of you know, this is not a half-size pattern, it's quite large. And so, again, not something that I naturally want to pick up, but when I do pick it up, I enjoy working on it. And this is a 36 count linen. I believe the color is, well, I know it's Picture This Plus Doubloon, and I am using the called for threads. I think the only change I have is whatever terracotta is called for. I couldn't find it for months and months, so I just switched to another brand of terracotta and figured it was going to be close enough. So here's where I am now. So really just a little bit of border and the first animal. A lot of animals to go. I am doing this 1/2. She had done the cover photo on as 1/2 on 28 count. So she really wanted this to have a primitive look. Normally on either 18 count or 36 count, I stick with 2/2 because I like that coverage, but I wanted to honor, her primitive look for it, and it's working out really well. All right, so the next one I have is called Santa's Treats, and this was started on December 11th, 2020. Here's what the pattern looks like. It's a Mill Hill kit, fairly standard, and again, I need to put something behind this. So here's where it is. So this is a great piece for when I am traveling. So when I went to the retreat, it was actually my first time on a plane in over a year. First time actually out of state in over a year. And this, it's just great because you don't need any hoops. You can just, the holes are big, it's easy to see. And so it's just a really simple thing to work on. Obviously, I have not done any beading yet because that is not so easy to do while you're traveling, but at least for the cross stitches, it's a good project to take for traveling. Okay. The next piece, which is the first full coverage that I will be showing you. This is Midnight Vigil. It's Heaven and Earth Designs. Here's the cover photo. It is the mini. The artwork is by Lisa Parker. So it's just a little black kitty with the candle staring out the window. And here's where I am now. So this is a project I really love working on it. You've met Maya, so I love black cats or just kitties in general. You'll see this is a trend. I have a lot of cat pieces. And so I just love the way that this has come out. The detail this is obviously one of the curtains, and just the detail is, it's coming out in the camera, and obviously when you look at it really closely and when you're stitching it, you're like, what is this? And then you pull it back and you realize just how wonderful all these details are. So I've gotten a little bit over 10% done with this in the past year. And so this is a project that, even though it was one of my quick starts or really rapid starts, I really enjoy working on it, and I pull it out quite frequently. And this is an 18 count Ada, and I'm using 2 threads. All right. And the next piece that I have is Beach Dance, also started on December 10th. I can find the cover photo. Here it is. This is by Lindy Stitches. I think many of you are familiar with this pattern, with the blue-footed boobies. And I was fortunate to get one of the kits with the project bag, which also has blue-footed boobies on it with the vinyl front. It's really, really nice. And I am doing this on a 32 count even weave. I believe the colorway is mint, although I'm not 100% sure. And I also think that it is Picture This Plus, but again, not 100% sure. I'm not necessarily the best at keeping labels with fabrics. So here's where I am now. Have not done that much, but this is a relatively small pattern. So, when the mood strikes and I finally get into it, it will go pretty quickly. So that's where I stand now. Okay, and then going to December 8th, I started, I think, one of my favorite, it is my favorite piece that came out in Market 2020, and that is the Blue Flowers, Huckleberry Farm. And I searched for a long time to get a piece of shale that would fit this, that came in a count that I liked, and in the end, I even bought, I think I did find some shale in Ada, but when I really started to do the measuring of the piece I had, it wasn't going to quite fit. The margins would be too close, and that didn't make me, I was uncomfortable with that. So I decided I was going to embrace the purple. And so I went with this is a 32 count linen from Picture This Plus in the colorway Whimsy. And unfortunately, I haven't done nearly as much as I would like to do, but here's where I am now. I'll get that straight, make that straight. So I've done the bear in the mountains and some of the vines on the side, and as well as a little zigzag. Again, not nearly as much as I would like to have done, but I do really, really love this project. And then also started on December 8th. This is a old pattern, I believe from the 90s. It's Sunset, which is a division of Dimensions. This is called Bag Ladies. Again, the cat lady in me is coming out. And so that's the picture. I was gifted the pattern and the fabric from the kit, but the person had done the pattern, and so I or at least Sunset they don't use DMC. They have their own colorways, but I was able to find a color conversion online. So here is where I am now. And being a dimensions type thing, there's a lot of tent stitching and full crosses, and you're switching out the number of strands. And so this is all of this actually here is tent stitch right now. So you can tell this is one of the bags, one of the biggest bags in it. So I've been working on that, of course. This was my WIP Go piece for this month. I was determined to finish this bag, and I ran out of one of the colors, which is everything in the remainder of that bag. So I just need to go hit up Michael's or Joann's and get that and finish it. And again, it's tent stitch. It's all fill in, because anything that was over here that needed that color, I was able to fill it in. So I will be able, once I get the skein, just sit there, and it's football season, folks. College playoffs, NFL is getting good. My husband made me watch the Grey Cup last night, which is Canadian Football League. So lots of football, and this is a really good piece to do while I'm watching that. All right, and then the next piece I started in preparation for the Magazine Monthly Challenge. So the first one is in the garden, and I'll show you the pattern. So here is a picture of that, and this is from an old issue of Just Cross Stitch and Country Craft from the 90s. Really lovely pictures, a lot of backstitch. And so I chose fabric that was a little bit lighter, but I actually am really happy with what I chose. So this is a 28 count Lakeside linen. I'm using the called for DMC. This is 2/2. Here is where I am now. So you can see I've got the birdhouses. I actually had a goal this month to get the vine and this pole done, which I did on the page. It goes all the way to the bottom, but I decided I was going to stop at the page because that was a lot of stitching. I am doing the back stitching as I go along with this. Number one, it makes the detail really pop, and it inspires me to continue working on it, because like over here you can see this purple flower. I haven't done the back stitching yet, and it just looks like a blob until the back stitching comes. And these leaves on the ivy did the same, but I think that just putting the back stitch in and you see the veins of the leaves, it's really beautiful. And so I really enjoy working on this. I've been working on it this month and got some great stitching done on it. So that will be coming out definitely quite a bit in 2022. And then the other one that I also started on December 7th, again, I was cramming to get these starts in before the end of the year, and I really wanted to participate in the magazine challenge. I love that idea that Carolyn and Robin have. So this is Love One Another from, again, an old issue of Cross Stitch and Country Craft. I am only sort of doing this bit in the center, not doing all these details on the side, and part of it, I don't think those details are necessary. And then too, I was using some black fabric from my stash, and it wouldn't fit. So here's where I am now. Got pretty good progress. Again, this fabric, I can see on it fine, but it is really stiff. And there are quite a few fractionals in this, and piercing this fabric is really hard. I basically can't do a straight, like straight down into the fabric. I have to sort of angle it, so I can't go through it. I have to literally like stitch under the weave in when I'm trying to do a fractional. So it's something that I need to, to be in a space where I'm patient, because like if I'm doing on linen fractionals, they go really, they go quite quickly. Like in the garden has a lot of fractionals, and if it's an Aida that's easy to pierce, I also don't have any issue with that. But this one is not so easy to pierce. Okay, and then the next piece that I'm going to show you, this is Little Cake Shop by Heaven and Earth Design, artwork by Amy Stewart. This is in a lovely bag that I purchased recently. It's got cupcakes on it, which I thought was good for a little cake shop with the vinyl front. I purchased this from Brick City Cross Stitch. They are located in Ocala, and basically one of the women who works at the store also makes project bags, and so from time to time they have them for sale there. So here is what it will look like. Right now, this is my largest project, although it will be overtaken by another project that I plan to start in the next couple of weeks. So that's that picture. And here's where I am. So I got a lot of progress on this year, given that I only had 200 stitches when I started it. Beginning of this year. This is a 22 count Hardanger colorway ivory. I am doing 1/1 full cross. I think the coverage is coming out really well. I think I think going with an ivory fabric really has helped sort of not see the stark whiteness, and it's something that for my future full coverages it's important because it's full coverage. I don't want to say I'm a total nut job for absolute, coverage for each stitch. If there's a little bit of white peeking out, I don't mind, but I do sort of, to the extent possible, I do want the colors to pop and not the fabric to pop underneath it. And here where you think it might be, those are actually lighter stitches that are coming out, and same with these white patches in here. Really enjoying working on this. This is one, and because I'm only using one strand, it actually stitches up very quickly. This is the max color, so right now I am a little bit bogged down in it, like when I was doing these stripes, even though there might be multiple colors, like you might think, oh, this is a light pink stripe. There are multiple colors in it, but it still blocks the stitching. This part here, especially now, these are like pictures of teacups here. It does go a little bit more slowly because I'll get about 5 stitches, and then I get about 5 stitches, and then it's time to pull another color. And I'm sorry, I'm back. Why Norton, my antivirus software, decides it's time to pop up and let me know that everything is okay in the middle of filming a video, I don't know. So I apologize for that. Okay, so that's Little Cake Shop. And then on December 5th, I started Winter Wonderland, another piece from an old issue of Cross Stitching Country Craft. Here's the cover photo. And, oops, I still have this on the Q-snap. Sorry, I'm going to pull this out so you can see it. So here's where I am now. I've got that a lot of the big bow done. I've got the house, all the full crosses in the house. I have not done any of the back stitching in the house. It's pretty, this is another piece. This is the 90s, so it's fairly back stitching intensive. So I will probably back stitch as I go along, but there was no point in back stitching the house until I got some of the like the snow and other motifs on the side done, because the house obviously is outlined as well. Enjoying working on this. This is a 28 count linen. I got it from Witch Help, but it is, the packaging said it was overdyed. And I kind of don't always love Witch Help. I find it a little bit stiff. This is really soft and really lovely to stitch on. So I've really enjoyed working on this piece with this fabric. And then moving to December 4th, another magazine piece. Again, I did a lot of starts so I could participate in the Magazine Monthly Challenge. We had a spoiler for the year. And so I saw, here are some pieces that might be able to fit multiple months. And so here's the piece that I'm working on. This is Caroline and Emma. They're called Sister Bears. They had, during this year, a series of teddy bears that you could stitch. So I've selected this one to stitch, which is Caroline and Emma. And got quite a bit of progress on this. So this is it's 32 count linen. The colorway is lamb's wool. Again, I don't know who the dyer is because you can see that's all that was written on the tag, and I don't remember. But it's a nice sort of butter yellow fabric, and I'm very happy that the white does pop. Again, this is the 90s, lots of back stitching, and I will, and that will even outline a little bit more the dress in case it does blend a little bit. But I got great progress on this year. Okay. All right, so the next piece I have to show you, this is, surprise, surprise, another magazine piece. This is from the world of cross stitch, and this is Christmas Cat, and I believe Margaret Cherry is the designer. So here's that little kitty hanging on the wreath. Again, anyone who has cats and Christmas trees, the struggle is real. So I am doing this on, I believe it's an 18 count Ada. It was in my stash, probably a piece of Charles Craft. So here's where I am now. And I worked on this for Christmas in July, and I also double dipped it with Semi-Sane Bingo, which was basically a color bingo. And so that's why it's sort of like all over the place with different colors, because I made my board so I could have this piece. And so, one of the greens would get called or something, and then I would pull it out and do it. So, and I think I did it for my same board, so it was like 50 stitches, so it was like nothing. So it'd be like here, and then I had to go up here. But it was great to have an opportunity to work on this, a fun piece. And then my next piece, again, another piece that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. This is Oh Joyous Day from Blackbird Design. Here is the picture. I have not decided what I'm going to put in the center text. The original sampler is on the back, and that's what it was. That was the original, and they use that as an inspiration. So not a true reproduction sampler, but a reproduction inspired sampler. And so she did it was near the wedding date of one of her children, and so she put their wedding date in. I haven't decided what I'm going to put in there for that, but I have a long way to go. So this is a 32 count. Look at my notes here. Yes, this is 32 count even weave, Fortnite fabrics, and the color is Morel. So this was last year when I was in their fabric club. This is one of the colors I got. So here's where it is. So I've got most of the top row done. I still have a little bit more to go on this flower, but then it'll be done. So a lot of fun to work on, and I love Fortnite fabrics. Just a real pleasure to stitch on. And then the last start all the things in December is, so I house this in a So Much to Love bag. And I just, you can see those little squirrels on it. So I know a number of Flosstubers have this bag, and I'm sure I saw someone hold it up, probably Annie Joyful Stitcher, and that's where I picked it out from. So this is Let Freedom Ring by Lila Studio. Love this piece, love this design. And here is where I am now. And I know I'm saying for a lot of these pieces, love this piece, love this design. I wouldn't work on them, I wouldn't start them, probably wouldn't even purchase them if I didn't feel that way. Life is too short to work on things for a hobby if it's not something that you love. So here's where I am now. So basically I finished page 1 and sort of came down a little bit and started working on the page below page 1. So using all of the called for colors, the only exception is like in this sort of this wreath area around here, I never could find the called for overdyed, so I just did a conversion to DMC. So this is this is a 32 count linen, and it is Picture This Plus Ren. And just so you know what I keep looking at sometimes, these are these are the project cards that you can get from S-Board Designs. These are the versions from last year. I purchased some for for starting in 2022, and it's just a good way for me to track to see like how much I've actually worked on it. I'm not so worried about I've worked on it 5 days or 10 days. That doesn't look so interesting to me, but it's good to look back and be like, oh, it's been 6 months since I've worked on this project. Maybe I should give it some more love or something like that. Or I had a really intense period during a certain time, usually because it was called for WIP Go. So, all right, so that is it for my Start All the Things December. All right, and then so I have one start that is left from November. I may have had others that I finished already. This is one called Autumn Blessings. It's from an old issue of Cross Stitch and Country Crafts. This is the full picture here, and it's got this prayer on it. The prayer didn't speak to me, and so I didn't really want to, I thought about, do I want to rechart something in it? But then what I really decided was, what I really like about this is all the top motif. So I'm just doing, I don't know exactly, I'm going to do all this on top, and I think I have to do a little bit modification. I think I have to shorten the apple by 1 stitch, and I have to lengthen something else just to sort of make it so it looks a little bit more even, but that shouldn't be too difficult. And so I am doing this on an 18 count Aida. It's a printed fabric. I'm not sure what the color is, but here's where I am now. Again, the center motif is full coverage with back stitch and straight stitches. So like recently I had to, you can see the little top of the wheat that I had to put in with straight stitches. So now this whole center area is filled, and then I'll just go to finish the border and a lot of the critters on the side. Really enjoy working on this printed fabric. I really love the color, and it was one of those that I won it in a giveaway, and when I decided I was going to work on this, it just sort of was like the perfect match, and the color is so wonderful for it. Okay. And then I believe, yes. And then, so again, as I mentioned, so in October, so not quite there yet, October, I have another, you can see I started a lot for the Magazine Monthly Challenge. It started September in 2020. So I was doing a lot of new starts for that. And desperately looking for the pattern, which is not next, the picture. So this is called Ghostly Greetings. And it has to have a spooktacular Halloween. And here's where I am. This is I think it's an 18 count Aida that I had in my stash. That's sort of a beige color. I wanted something that was a little bit darker so that when I get to the ghosts that they'll pop on this fabric. Those ghosts are all Kreinik. So when I get to them, it's going to take me quite a bit of time, but this is one, in addition to Halloween, obviously, it's a good one if something calls for, stitch with Kreinik, because there's a lot of Kreinik. And also in the bow, in the purple, there's a lot of blending filament for that. Okay, now going back to what I started to say, in September and August, because I was moving, I was in the process of moving, I did not get a lot of, didn't have the mental capacity and in some cases the supplies, because I shipped a lot of my supplies back to the US to do any starts. I did have one new start during that time, but it was a finish, which was the apple sampler. So I have to go back to July for my next start. And so on July 20th, I started a year at Hawk Run Hollow. So I think many of you are familiar with this. I am doing the full pattern. And so I've chosen to go down mainly because I want to make sure once I get to the bottom of this, I'm going to lop off the extra fabric because it is quite a large piece of fabric. And I didn't partially took this out of the Q snap, but here's where I am. So January, April, and July. So here we are with Auld Lang Syne, April showers, Independence Day. I will say, I mentioned this in my video, if you are doing this and you are going to do the DMC conversion, look at it very, very carefully. Because I think for the red tones, what I think should be a red tone, they're too orangey in the DMC. And I made a decision to stick with it, but if I was starting this over, I would have selected different colors. So you can kind of see like how orange the fireworks are here. As I said, I live in Gator country. Orange and blue are our colors, so that doesn't bother me, but for other people it could. And then even in the flag, I think it looks okay, but this is not what I would consider the red for an American flag. And so, and also, oops, sorry, you can see a little bit over here, which is a different shade of red. In the overall, it comes out okay, but I would have preferred, I think, to have something that was more of a true red, like a 304 or something like that. But I wanted to stay consistent with the other, the colors, because there aren't that many colors in this pattern. There are maybe 25 colors or something, and I didn't want to go all the way out. And the other block that makes me a little bit nervous about the colors is the Christmas block, but we'll see what happens when I get to there. So this is done on a 36 count linen from Picture This Plus. Heartland is the color, and I am doing 2/1 on this. And I have this stored in a project bag from So Much to Love. It's a smaller one. Usually I like the ones a little bit bigger, but I got this in a giveaway from Lisa and Cross by Floss, and it's very generous of her. And I do love the bag, and because the 8x8 Q snap fits perfectly around one of these blocks, it fits perfectly in this bag. Okay, and then my next piece is White Owl from Artisy, artwork by Hayumi Karai. This is also in a So Much to Love bags. Again, I have a lot of her bags. I love the flowers on this. They're really pretty. So here's the picture. You can decide if it's a Harry Potter ripoff or not. Here, I'm like, oh, where's the project? I just worked on this. This is my WIP Go piece for this month, and I did accomplish my goal of 1,000 stitches, and then I also had a page finish. So I am doing this on Pattern Keeper, but I'm going to keep going across the top in the page. Just so I'm a little over halfway across on the top, and this is about 20% of the pattern done. So I am enjoying doing the night sky. We'll see how I feel when I get to the owl, because it's not just white, it's really pale, like 3072, pearl gray, and 775, and other very, very pale colors. And it can get a little hard to track exactly where I am, but I'm sure the effect will be lovely. Blue is my favorite color, and that's part of the reason that I love owls, obviously, Owlandgatorstitcher, and that's part of what drew me to this project. Okay. And then in May, that was Mania, and that was my first Mania, my first and only Mania I participated in. I did not participate in this year because of no new starts. And so what I did, I was still working, and my job was a full-time plus. But we were during the pandemic, so I was working a lot from home. And so what I decided to do was I was going to have a new start on every day that was not a work day. So weekends, and then there were a couple of holidays, Memorial Day, but I was in the Dominican Republic, and so there were, I think, at least one or two, there was at least one, if not two, local holidays which we observed. So I had those days off. So I did, I think, 13 starts. I've finished a couple of those already. Here are the ones that I have left. So from May 31st, this is the tea table. This is an old pattern from Serendipity Designs. I believe it's from the 1990s. I do love the picture. The colors seem a little dated to me, but it's sometimes fun to pull out colors that you don't use on a regular basis, like these, the lavender and such. It's like the 208, 209, that range. And here's where I am. I did start at the top here, but then I was having a little bit of problems. There's a lot there. They do have some tent stitching in here, half stitches, and I was losing track of where I was. So I said, you know what, I jumped down. I guess I've been doing some color here. I said, I'm just going to start working on the teapot and get that done, and then I can count off of that. So that's where I am. So this is the top of the teapot, and this is starting to go to be the spout of the teapot. I do keep my, so I do use the silicone magnetic ties for my projects. I believe that Steph from Just Keep Stitching, she's the one who discovered them, so to speak. I don't know, or at least she's the first place that I heard about it, and everyone references back to her. I think these are genius. I like them better than the spool huggers and everything else that people had tried. These just work really well for me, and I keep them with the project, but this means that all my projects are sticking together as I'm trying to hold them, because all the magnetic ties from each of them are sticking to each project bag. All right, so the next one, going backwards, this is from May 25th. This is Cloud's Factory, Fabulous Women in History. So it says women are the real architects of society, and you can just see it's a bunch of famous women. I do plan to do some modifications when I get to those women, but I'm still far off from that. I am doing this on, I can't remember if it's 32 count fabric. I should have it written down in here. Yes, this is a 32 count. Doesn't actually, it's crystal. If I put my glasses on, I might be able to read my bad handwriting. Crystal Orchid. And I don't know who the dyer is. It might be Picture This Plus, but it's opalescent fabric. And here's where I am. So that's Cleopatra, Joan of Arc, Elizabeth I, and Jane Austen. Really enjoy working on this. Love the fabric. And again, how many times can I say I enjoy working on something? But it's true. Not enough time, and I don't have the excuse of working, kids, all those fun things that keep people from stitching. I don't have any of those excuses, and yet I still feel like I don't have enough time to stitch. All right, the next project that I will show you from May 23rd, fitting with my cat lady theme. This is Gone Batty. I'm just looking for where did I put the cover picture. Here we go. From Brenda Jouet with Thy Needle and Thread. So there's the picture. Not in love with the colored Kermit for a fabric, but I found another piece at the cupboard in Fort Lauderdale, which is a nice, just a little bit less yellowy than that one. And here's where I am. So I have the cat completely done, except for one little row here. I ran out of Old Hickory. I am using the Call for Colors, so I need to go to my L&S and see if she has any Old Hickory. If not, I'm sure I can find some DMC that comes close enough. This is, it is very slightly variegated, but it's not that variegated. So yeah, cute kitty, and I'm going to have to do something because the straight stitches, I didn't pull them tight enough in his whiskers, so I'll have to fix that. But there's not, obviously, well, say almost no back stitching in this, but I did do the straight stitches for that and for his mouth. Batty. Okay. And then on May 17th, I started Oak Drive from Mystic Stitch. This is in a bag. These are little llamas on there. And this is from Caitlin, Madam Ice. She made the bag. I don't know how much she's making bags anymore, but this is one of her old style bags. And so it's got this, I mean, in addition to sort of the nice little fabric inside, but she actually has it so like this can really be like a traveling thing. So you've got places where you can put like pens or highlighters and your little pocket for your scissors. So very, very nicely done. I will say the only thing is my cat got a hold of the zipper pull here and it fell off. Kitty, kitty, kitty. This is one I do not have on Pattern Keeper, so it's very slow going for me. I had started it doing it staircase diagonal, and it was painful for me to work on. This is so, I didn't even show you the cover photo. This is so confetti heavy, and that is what makes it so beautiful. But in each of those squares, I mean, you'll see it, I'll show you what I've done. You know, each 100 by 10 by 10 square, there might be 50 colors. I mean, obviously, if you get to this part, this is a lot of black. That wasn't a big deal. But down here, there's so many different colors and so rich. So what I've started to do is just pull it in and try and focus on, you know, picking as much as I have of colors. So I'll probably, this is another large tree branch. So I'll probably work on filling this in, and then that will give me good counting points to get some of this other, these other colors in. It just, I was parking. I tried parking on quite a few projects, and I just discovered it wasn't for me. So once I get these parked threads in, then I will really be able to find the best way to attack this piece. And this piece, for me, and showing the whole picture again, this is what home looks like to me. Not my house, but I grew up here in northern Florida, and it's where I chose to come back to. And live oaks are the tree that is in some ways so symbolic of this area. I know a lot of people think of palm trees when they think of Florida, but for me, the live oak is something that it's something, I mean, you see it quite a bit in the South, but you don't see it all over the country. And they're really old trees, and I believe it is actually an oak, but the leaves are very different than what you think of a traditional oak tree. It's not the same kind of leaves, but really beautiful with all of the Spanish moss hanging off of it. Really, really beautiful trees. And so this piece just was something that I really was excited when I saw it, and I'm doing this on an 18 count Ada. Okay. Then on May 16th, this is Simple Little Big Love from Alessandra Adelaide Needle Arts. I am doing this on, here's the cover photo. So this is a heart with these two birds. And I'm doing this on, I'm not going to write this down. It's yes, I don't have the color, so 32 count linen, but really, really pretty the way it's coming out so far. So I've got most of this bird done, or the body of the bird, and now sort of coming into the tail. Again, a piece that I don't have the opportunity to pull out nearly as much as I would like to. When I do pull it out, I get into the rhythm and it goes, and it's a lot of fun to work on. But for whatever reason, I put it down, and then it does take a little bit of time to get back into the rhythm of stitching it. Okay, then the next piece I have, this is from May 10th. This is Stars Bright from Lindy Stitches. Where she has a quote from Hemingway and the granny squares around it. And I'm doing this on a 32 count Picture This Plus. Here's where I am. For those who've been watching for a while, you'll remember that I had to frog out some of the stitches over here. I miscounted as I think I missed a hole, and so the stitches were off. And so So anyhow, so it went in timeout for a while until I got the energy to do it, to work on it, to pick that out, and then pick it up and do some more. So that's where that is. Okay, the next one is from the Awesome Pattern Studio. It's Mandala Giraffe. Here's the picture. And one of the things I love about this is that there are 4 or 5 copies of, I shouldn't say maybe not that many, but there's multiple copies of the same pattern in it. And it's, do you like color symbols? Do you like black and white? Do you like this? It actually has come in handy because the unfortunate thing is the pattern is so small that sometimes I can't tell exactly what, the colors are kind of similar, so I can't use the color one all the time, but then sometimes the symbols are so small and similar on the black and white that I need the color, so I do go back and forth. That makes it helpful. So I've done quite a bit on this one. So here's where I am. So yeah, that I think is white. So basically like this part over here is done. So I need to do this, and then it comes down, and obviously he has like his, I don't know if we call it a snout on giraffes, his nose. So that's where it is. So a lot of fun to work on this. And that's just on a off-white, probably 18-count Ada that I had in my stash. Okay, the next one is Tug of War from Mystic Stitch, and this is one that I started on May 3rd. So here's this little bird on a string on a quilt. Again, I have hard copy pattern, so it's slow going. So it's been basically background. So all of page 1 is done. I continue with the black down here and then start. So this is whatever is below page 1, and then part of then coming over to page 2 and even a little bit onto page 3. This sort of space here is where the clothespin is. I've made a decision. I'm going to finish page 2 and then I'm going to start going down so I can get into the quilt and to make it a little bit more interesting to inspire me to work on it more. I do really love this piece, but if I had to do it again, I probably would have just gotten like a green over-dyed Ada and just not stitched the background, because that's taking a lot of time, and while it's okay if you make a mistake here or there, no one's going to know that it's $8.90 versus $8.95 or whatever color that you've picked that are so close to each other. If you put, miss a stitch and you do the other one, but it's still, I want it to, I like the way, I'll pull this out and show you. I like the way you sort of have, it does go from sort of darker and then it gets very light up here. I do like the way that lighting is going, and I do want to try and capture that. It just is time consuming and it doesn't always inspire me to pull it out. The next piece, so that was those were all of my Mania 2020. So on April 20th, I started Green Dancer from Artisy, artwork by Edgar Degas. So it's a narrow piece. So here's where I am. So I've got, this is the first 3 pages are done, which are the top 3. So this actually fits into a 11 by 11 Q snap. That's how narrow it is. And so I'm working pages 4, 5, 6 at the same time. So if I pick up a color in one, I look for it wherever I can on this. Again, really pretty piece. When I was a teenager and living in the New York City area, my mother and I every winter would get a subscription to go see the New York City Ballet perform. So we'd go 4 or 5 times for their winter season. Really enjoyed doing that. I love watching the ballet. My husband's not into it so much, so it's not something I've done in a long time. And I'm going to say in Gainesville, we don't get, New York, you had all the amazing companies come through. So I would go see the American Ballet Theater, and which is also based in New York, but then just other world-class companies as they would go on tour and come through. And I also lived in Moscow and got to see the Bolshoi and the Kirov and these other great companies while I was there. Gainesville, we're not on the tour spot for the companies like that. So haven't been to ballet in a really long time, but it reminds me of time with my mother when I was a teenager. Okay, so then going on to March. This is March 20th. And I did a lot of full coverage starts in 2020 because I was doing the Around the World with Full Coverage Fanatics. And so I tried to pick a piece that hit at least 2 countries. I could link to 2 countries that they had on their itinerary. So that's why I have a lot of full coverage that I started then. So this is Mother of Dragons by Pain Free Crafts, artwork by Alexandra B. Bach. So purchased this before I knew how Game of Thrones ended. I'm stitching this because, again, I've mentioned this before. I like the character of Daenerys, even though I don't like, sorry, spoiler alert, how she turned out in the end. But again, working mostly on background. This bit here is one of the dragon's wings. Pages 1 and 2 are done. This is page 3. I've kind of decided again, once I finish page 3, I think I'm going to start to go down. I want to start getting into the dragon. Part of my concern is that because this is all background and the nature of the background, it's very dark. And I want to make sure that the detail comes up well. Pain Free Crafts is a very good company, so I have confidence that it will, but it's just really dark right now. And I'm not seeing a lot of the details. Like this area in here, it's not coming out as clearly as I thought it would. But again, it's this is like masonry work here, and obviously I can see the arch here and things like that. But I'm not entirely sure, so once I finish this page, I'm going to go down and see how the dragon comes out. Again, I don't care so much if it doesn't look great up here. I care that the woman and the dragon are what come out well. And I have full confidence that they will. But, whatever I can say, trust but verify. And here I go again, having all my magnetic ties stick together. And then this is from March 1st. This is Evening Romance. Artwork by Mark, I guess, Keithley. I don't know how to say his name. From Artisy. This is a very, very confetti heavy piece, so it takes me a while to work on it, but despite that, I've made some really great progress on it. So I think I've got 3 pages and then starting on the 4th page done. So just love the details and how they're coming out. And again, this is definitely one of those pieces, when you're staring at it, stitching it, it just looks like blobs, and then all of a sudden you fill it in and you pull it out, and it looks so wonderful. So thank you, Tarina, for your awesome stitching. Your awesome charting for our stitching. It comes out really well. It's one of those things that you have to pull it back and look at it from a distance. Okay, and then my next piece, and this is from February 20th. This is Portrait of Veronica from Mirabilia. This is my only current active Mirabilia. So here is what she looks like. And I do have this in the Q-snap, although I'm going to pull it out of the Q-snap soon because I need to move it down. So there's where she is now. So I am doing the skin 1/1, but everything else is 2/2. This is a 32 count witch holt, and I think the color is Star Sapphire. It is actually called for fabric, just because when I was buying it, I bought a piece and then I realized this wasn't going to fit on it and got so disheartened, and I'm just like, buy a big piece of called for fabric, and that way I know it's going to fit. That's where she stands now. So basically, and it will go much faster once I'm working on her dress. I do have her other arm to do, which will be 1/1, which will slow me down quite a bit. But when I finished all of the 1/1 here and just got to, didn't have that much time to pull out the other colors, but it felt like it was flying. Which I know when you choose to do 1/1, you're doing 4 times as much stitching as the pattern calls for. And this is in another So Much to Love bag. These little owls on it. I'm probably going to have to repurpose this bag because this fits the 8x8 Q-snap, but I think my mirror now will have to go on a bigger Q-snap in order to get the working area that I want. So then my next piece is High Intensity charted by Artisy, artwork by Owlandgatorstitcher. And this is a jaguar. Reminds me of when I lived in Belize. So here is where I am. So you can see I've got the tail, his tail all done. This is his hind leg. I kept referring to his belly. I don't know why. That's not his belly. That is his upper leg, hind leg. His belly, the way that he's standing, actually sort of goes down vertically. Again, love the way this is coming out. I'm actually doing this on a 14 count Aida, so the piece itself, the stitch count isn't huge, but it will be quite a large piece because I'm doing it on 14 count. It just was a piece I had in my stash that I wanted to just to find a use for. If you're not stitching on it, and it was sitting there for years and years, what's the point of keeping it? So I chose to use it. And I'm only using 2 strands, but I think the coverage is really good. Again, where you can see some of this light stuff, these are actually stitches. That's not the fabric poking through. And this is going to be, I don't set a lot of goals for myself. I just want my stitching to happen. I don't want to say organically because I play a lot of the games, but I do like for my stitching to, I don't want to put a lot of pressure on myself to feel like I don't hit all my goals by the end of the year. But this is a piece that I would like to get done by the end of 2022, and I've done the stitch calculations on how much I have to do every week in order to hit that goal, and it's doable. All right, so then my next piece, which I think if you've been watching any of my videos, you've seen it because I think I pull it out for every single video. And this is Heaven and Earth Designs, artwork by Leslie Ann Ivory. I say this every week, and why can I not remember the name of the artist all of a sudden? And here is the cover photo. So kitties and toys. And here is where I am. So I've gotten the first top row of pages done, as well as sort of moving down. So this I started on the paper pattern and moved it over to Pattern Keeper when I got that. So if I'm doing this so you can see there's the gray kitty over there, and then you can pull it down a little bit so you can see, and the monkey and the doll and the teddy koala, and then the little tabby cat there. So still loving stitching on this. My goal, I'm a little over 40% right now, and it's like 40.3 or something. My intention is to get this to 75% by the end of 2022. Again, one of the few pieces that I have a goal on, simply because I do love this piece so much, and I want it done because I want to be able to look at it every day. Again, as I've mentioned many times, I'm the cat lady. I love my cats. And then the last piece I have to show you, and that was that was a New Year's Day start, so January 1st, 2020. So my oldest WIP, my oldest project from 2020, so this is my only piece I have from 2019, and this is a Christmas Day start in 2019. This is Old World Map, charted by Artisy, and it's the large version. And here's where I am now. I mentioned this before, but there's a woman in the Artisy Facebook group who periodically will post her coverage, and her work is amazing. She started, like I started, on the upper right corner, which is not normally where I start, but I was doing diagonal stitching and I thought that made sense. Then diagonal stitching or parking made no sense for me. Not if you'd park, that's great. It doesn't work with my brain. I understand it, but it slows me down considerably. So she started, so it's just wonder, and she started up here and she's gone down. So she's got about half of it done, and it looks so spectacular. So here, this is the Eastern Hemisphere. So this part here is Asia, basically. Over here, you can see a little bit. This is, I believe it's going to be the North Pole. So this is, I haven't worked on it, but this is the edge of the globe here. And then just all these characters here. this right now is a piece that I work on almost every day. I don't want to say it's not a 25/7 piece because I don't really restrict myself, but restrict or force myself, let's put it that way. But if I have stitching time in the morning, I'll pull it out for half hour, 45 minutes. I also, for magical stitches, will use it when I just don't know what the prompt is, and we can use our oldest project for that. So I often do that. So that is it for my WIP parade. If you stuck around for this whole thing, thank you. I'm going to have a bunch of new starts. That's what I'm going to do for the remainder of December. I had a brief heart attack yesterday, metaphorical heart attack, because I went to load up some of the patterns onto Pattern Keeper that I purchased, but I had them in my Google Drive and had not put them on my tablet that I use for Pattern Keeper, and they wouldn't transfer. And it was like upload failed, and some of them were things I purchased over a year ago, and I know that a lot of times companies, in order to protect the digital asset, will like not make it available after a year, but I never had a problem with things as long as I had downloaded it. I just couldn't get it from their site again. And I was freaking out. I'm like, I've got 5 or 6 patterns that I want to start and I can't get this to transfer. I'm all freaking out. I'm trying to figure out what went wrong. Finally, like after sort of playing around with it, I realized that it had my tablet, I had logged out of Google because I literally only use, I have my antivirus software, and then I have Pattern Keeper, and that it's all, so it does go on Wi-Fi just so I can keep the software up to date. And I had logged out of the Google Drive, and so it was basically let me see part of my Google Drive, but it wouldn't let me do anything else. So once I logged in and then saw all my patterns, I was able to export them and everything was well. So I'm going to clean up. I'm going to take some pictures because I need to finish my album for No New Starts 2022. And once I get all of that done, have some lunch, I am going to start my first new project. So looking forward to that. Merry Christmas to everyone. And for those of you who celebrated Hanukkah, I hope that you had a good Hanukkah. And I probably will not come back until early January. So I'm going to wish you in advance a Happy New Year. And I look forward to sharing my stitching with you in 2022. Bye.